Canada's housing market stagnated in fall 2023. Not a surprise with high interest rates and the end of buying season, but the lack of movement and past volatility led to sellers' fatigue, with many pulling down their listings.
So there were a lot of cancellations that happened between November 15th and December 31st.
And I think part of that too came from the fact that sellers had this idea of what price they were going to get, and the market was declining.
With lending rates holding at 5% since last summer, many have speculated the cost of borrowing will decline in the months ahead. At the same time, declining rates could push prices through the roof once again. So what can people expect when it comes to the Canadian housing market this spring?
What felt like a very sleepy or somewhat non-existent fall market has sort of translated into a very fast-paced spring market. Some would say the spring market might have even come a little bit early. What I think has somewhat prompted that has been some of the major lenders out there lowering their fixed interest rates over the course of December.
Smaller markets also saw a modest bump in sales in January.
And I think part of those houses that canceled and then relisted, they accounted for a little bit of the increase that we did see though in January. I think it was almost, the way I look at it is it was almost a bit of an artificial inflated market, because those houses that didn't sell in November and December kind of followed through and then sold in January.
It's usually around March, and then things start to pick up in April, and May is the big month.
While the spring season is traditionally more profitable for sellers, predicting this year's housing market is more complex.
I think a lot of people have expected that, in the spring, rates are going to come down and the market's going to spike up. And traditionally, in this area, that has happened for the past decade or so. The spring market comes around and the flowers are out and the green grass is out, and people think that I'll get more for my house than if I sold in the winter. And as optimistic as that is for sellers who hope to get more for their house in the spring, I don't think it's going to happen.
While home prices skyrocketed in the early days of the COVID pandemic, the trend began to shift in the spring of 2022 as the Bank of Canada raised key interest rates. It wasn't until 2023 that inflation began to stabilize, leading to speculation that rate drops were ahead.
Rumors are out there saying that interest rates are going to come down towards the end of the year, but if it does, home prices are going to go up. So timing, like if you can hammer out a deal right now, I think you're wise to get into the market.
Until you get the Bank of Canada cutting rates, which we think is going to start in mid-year, you're unlikely to see the market really pick up, from a meaningful perspective.
Canada's inflation rate has seemingly stabilized, prompting many to think that there may be a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to lowering interest rates. But only time will tell if this spring will be hot for the housing market. In Toronto, Steve Autio, Global News.